Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is another episode of Your Content Factory. My name is Blake. I got Mallory on the controls, as always. This whole thing's put on to you by Blueform Media. We're here in the Blueform Garage. And I have an awesome guest today, my good friend, Jefferson Rogers, Jefferson K. Rogers. Dude, good to have you, bro. How you been?
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
I've been waiting for the invite.
I know. Yeah.
I've seen you guys doing all these podcasts. I wonder when they're going to ask me to come on.
Dude, you're about to be on the lineup. So, yeah, me, Mitch, and Jared, all we do is talk about JKR and Jefferson because that's where we all met.
Yeah.
So when we're talking and, laying the foundation of who we are, why we're this way, what's going on, and we're just letting people know. And JKR gets brought up like every time we record. So, in fact, Mitch was telling us COVID stories about you getting kicked off airlines and stuff last episode. So
yep, we've had some adventures.
Yeah, it's awesome.
2020 was an exciting year for JKR Windows.
It was.
When everybody was trying to convince us that we needed to shut the doors.
Yeah, yeah.
And we went harder than ever.
What does Dana White say? He's like, if you're even remotely a savage, you'll just dominate.
Yeah, it's easy to win in this day and age because everybody's so damn soft.
It is, man. And like, I didn't know that. Like, I knew that in other areas of my life, that it was easy to be hardcore or like devoted or like disciplined in certain areas. But for some reason, I had all these social blocks until I met you and started at JKR. Then it started clicking in my daily, everyday life. Mm-hmm. And I could flip a switch in the right group of people, but if I was by myself, man, I was weak. And then
did you have that in the military?
Like in the military, you're just surrounded by that culture. Mm-hmm. And I was just dumb enough not to like live it on the daily. So I was like acting. I felt like I was doing my job well.
Right.
I had great relations and good friendships, but like if I had extra time, like I was goofing off. Like I wasn't working on myself. I wasn't being better. Like, yeah, I do the bare minimum. I do my push-ups, do my runs, do the hikes, whatever. And
we all go through that stage, just doing the minimum. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it is like the proximity to people that operate at a high level. Like maybe you did have some proximity to people that operated at a high level in the military, but you just weren't ready for it yet. You're like, that's not me. Yeah.
Well, I was ready for it in that context, but then I'd disappear and I'd go back to civilian life, doing contract work. You're on, you're off. And I would just have nobody around me, So I would be surrounded by these great individuals who weren't so morally great. Like they'd be out sleeping, cheating on their wives, doing all sorts of, pleasure seeking, thrill seeking kind of shit. But when it came to doing that job, they were fucking fantastic. Huh. And so I didn't really fully look up to them as role models or anything, or
just questionable character that was
right. Yeah, some of them weren't. Some of them, there was a few that were questionable, and the other ones were pretty solid. But I looked up to them in the aspect of the job and not like full-on mentorship, right, for life in general. So I didn't get that until we started.
One of the reasons why you did so well with JKR was because of the accountability of the team.
Yeah.
Because you're right, dude. Like when you get behind closed doors and it's just you.
Yes.
It's easy to default back to your...
Yeah, my old ways come out.
Your old ways. Yeah. But when you're like, you got to show back up tomorrow and you got to come with the energy and you got to have something to talk about, not just, I went home and did absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Like we're all working on ourselves here and there's a level of accountability because everybody else is, and you're going to stick out like a sore thumb if you're not.
Yeah. I love that kind of pressure, having a team. And it's not just like being a part of a team. It's like a brotherhood. Right. If I let down my brothers, like, who the fuck am I? Like, why am I even here? Mm-hmm. Kind of a thing. And so, to give the audience some context real quick, I'll just kind of intro you. Right. And the reason I have you on here is because you have a kick-ass story. And from what I understand, you're working on a book eventually. Right.
The book's done.
The book's done.
Launching on October 31st.
Okay. Well, shit.
It's exciting.
Let's have you on all the Blueform podcasts promoting that shit, dude.
Yes.
Because by the end of October, we're running 10 podcasts. Right now,
that's part of the plan is, I want to get the book out in front of as many people as possible. It's a great story. It's a great methodology for being able to turn your life around and go from, the freaking guy on the couch like I was to being able to run a business and be successful and have good habits and discipline and surround yourself with good people.
Absolutely.
And I want to be able to get that in front of as many people as possible, in front of the right audience. And this, I think, is
it is.
Most of your guys' podcasts are the right audience.
Yeah. I mean, any podcast usually, maybe other than like comedic podcasts, but most podcasts are all about that to some degree, right? It's a niche information that can, so that's all. I'm excited. So it's good having you on, and like, I really want to dive deep. So the story, your story, all the details behind that story, that's been spoken on other podcasts. It's going to be spoken in your book. So we'll dive into detail as needed today. But I really want to pick your brain on some stuff. But just to kind of give it a synopsis, you used to be a professional couch surfer, is what you call it, right? You were the guy on the couch, like but from what I understand too, doing some recon around these parts and interfacing with people that knew you.
This is actually my old stomping ground.
I know, right
here, bro.
Santa Clara.
I slept on many a couches in your neighborhood.
Yeah, yeah, right. That's awesome. But you were kind of the guy for partying. Like there was always something going on around Jefferson, or you were always going to the place where it was going on, and you would like enhance it.
Yeah, I ran into an old friend at a wedding reception last night.
Whoa!
Last night, holy cow! It was a long day yesterday. But he was like, he's been watching me through social media, and we really haven't kept in touch. And we weren't super close friends, but I was that guy. It was like, every time I was around, I made him nervous, because it was like, this guy is intense. Like, we're either going to get a fight, he's going to headbutt somebody, we're going to break some shit today.
Yeah.
And that was like his last memories of me. And the last time we spoke was right before I went to this concert and got shitty drunk and headbutted somebody and drove off and got chased by police. And that's what he remembers of me.
I hope that story in your book is like 3 chapters. Like, I want excruciating detail of that day, because like that's an epic story. We go into some
pretty good detail.
Yeah, headbutting a guy and knocking out a man with your head, and then dipping out. Fucking like, so you ran like through the desert.
So, yeah, my truck was right there. So first thing I did, when the girlfriend screamed bloody murder and she thought her boyfriend was dead, I thought he was dead too. Like, his arms went up in the air and he just hit the ground like a sack of rocks.
Bad one.
Just scared me.
Yeah.
And so I got in the truck and just took off. But I was in this compound, like this big concert compound. And with all the commotion, like, all of the security's looking for me now. And I see like everybody barricading the main entrance. So I pull off with my car onto this side street, just like slid to a stop, threw the keys on the floorboard, locked it, and just ran through the desert.
I'll have to tell you, I had a very similar experience running through the desert after an incident like that. I'll tell it off mic though. But yeah, I know the thrill behind that. But that's such an epic story. I mean, it was a shitty situation.
Yeah, it's just
bad choices.
So stupid
that you brought on yourself.
I don't even remember why I headbutted him.
Just looked at you wrong.
I was so fired up that day, just drinking all day, and then I just start getting irritable when I'm that drunk. My wife, I just got in an argument with my wife, and I really think that he was just like in my line of sight, and I was ready to just throw down.
Ooh, you just saw
I don't think he even did anything.
Yeah, dude. That's that is scary. I can see why that guy would be like, we don't know what's going on. You're a wild card, right? So you had that intensity that a lot of people that know you, it's just like your passion for whatever you're doing at the time. If you're into it, you're passionate about it, right?
You know what my book's called?
Is it All In?
All In.
Yeah.
I just got that all in mentality.
You told me that a year ago that you're making a book called All In. I think you should make a sales book next, and you should call it what do we call it? 27 Stones.
That's right.
Yeah.
We talked about that.
That's a cool sales story too. 27 at-bats trying to close your first deal as a window salesman, and you laid them all out on your bed. Every contract that said no, every potential, and you just laid them out.
Painful.
That's a whole nother book, dude. Book number 2.
It is.
27 Stones or whatever, 27, whatever. But yeah, so storytelling is huge. And I wanted to bring this up because we'll get into the content and what you're doing on social media and why it's relevant, like how you use a podcast, stuff like that. Stuff that's kind of the bread and butter for your content factory. We're just here to help people specialize and make their content factory, their content pipeline just as good and as effective as possible. Mm-hmm. So, but when you were that guy, you were the professional couch guy, the wild card that partied. That day you were seeing red. You were frustrated. Why were you frustrated? Like, is there a reason why you were frustrated? Do you think it was, maybe elaborate on that?
Chemical imbalance, I would call it.
So
I turned into a different person when I was drinking.
Yeah. And you've been sober how long?
Last drink I had was on January 7th, 2018.
2018.
So it's been 5.5 years.
5.5 years. That is awesome, dude. And like you just cold turkeyed right there. You were done.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
There was a lot of things that led up to that.
Yeah.
That headbutting incident at the concert was just a few months before that. It was a really tough time in my marriage and kind of a shameful thing that I had to go through.
Yeah.
Dealing with the courts and,
yeah,
the example that I was being to my brothers and my wife and my kids. Yeah. There was a lot of things that led up to it.
Yeah.
But then once I was done, I just quit.
Do you think that that winter leading into that, was that kind of your rock bottom or of sorts, or had you been lower before?
I mean, I'd been at lower places just like financially and doing drugs and stuff like that. It was a low point in my marriage for sure.
Okay. So it was like a low point in the relationships that mattered most.
It was, yeah. Just
like you had the most
jeopardizing
to lose.
Everything.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah. You had the most to lose at that point. So you'd been lower, but when you're a single dude and you're low, like how really low are you,
Yeah.
If it's like, there's nothing on the line, like these guys that are playing video games all day, like doing the things like I used to do. It's like, you were low, but like, what do you have to lose? You got nothing already, but you had something. You had a great wife, or you still do. You have kids, and yeah, you were just kind of still being that party guy, right?
I was, man. I had some dependency going on. I was smoking weed almost every day, drinking almost every day.
So do you felt like you were, we talk a lot about like our true self, our true identity on this other podcast with Jared and Mitch. Do you feel like that might have been like the source of your frustration? Like, cause you knew you were gaffing off kind of thing. Like, were you aware of that?
I don't think I was really aware of it because I just like staying high, staying drunk all the time. But when I look back and kind of reflect on the reasons why I got into smoking and drinking and then why it lasted for so long, there was quite a bit of responsibility as, first of all, being named after my dad is like one of the baddest human beings on the planet.
Yeah.
And then being the oldest of all my brothers and being, that messaging my whole life, like the responsibility being the oldest and you got a big shoes to fill.
Amount to something, right?
And yeah, we're like, everybody's expecting a lot of me. And I knew I was capable of a lot. And then as I went down this path, I had so many people that loved and cared about me saying like, God, you're better than this. Right.
So if you got let's say you skipped a day or two being the party guy and you were sober enough to think about that, like your like medicine was you would self-medicate basically. Cause you'd be like, shit, I'm not.
Yeah. I didn't spend a whole lot of time thinking about it before I was just getting high again.
Yeah. Cause that was like you wanted that state of mind rather than facing like what you could be or thinking about your future. And the reason I bring that up is I think a lot of people relate to that. Like, what falls in the category of someone self-medicating today. Like it could be a source of entertainment, like Netflix. You can self-medicate with that. You can self-medicate with just getting quick dopamine from food. You can, drugs, liquor, video games, like you name it. Mm-hmm. And it's a very similar like thing where people
scrolling your Instagram.
Yeah.
It's another way you just shut your brain off where you don't have to deal with reality and the responsibility of life. That's
it, dude. And it's what your full potential could be. You don't have to think about that. If you never start that business, you never have to face who you could be. Mm-hmm. You never have to. If you just work that 9 to 5, if you just come home and watch Netflix and enjoy your life, like whatever, pay your bills and do that stuff, it's a form of like avoidance, I think, in becoming like who you're meant to be. Or like your potential, like who could you be?
Just working towards your potential.
Exactly.
There's I think the interesting thing about successful people that don't reach success is we all know generally what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Like this ain't rocket science. Like you get up early, you write your goals, you read books, you surround yourself with good people. Those are the things that we've been taught our whole freaking lives. They're just the basics. They're the foundation of where you start down the path of success. And I have so many people like, where do I start? What do I do?
Yeah.
What's your recommendation? Yeah. It's like, you already know what to do. Like, I can't tell you what to do.
Yeah. If you were to ask somebody, you know enough about football that it starts with a kickoff. So if you had to like start a football game, would you be like, what the fuck do I do? You'd be like, okay, it starts with a kickoff. And one team has possession. Like,
and everybody knows there's a kickoff.
Yeah, there's a kickoff. It's like, well, what do you do? Well, it's you, right?
Yep.
Starting with yourself. And like, it's different. It's a little bit different for everybody. So maybe that analogy doesn't work perfectly, but yeah, that's interesting. There's a lot of people that were, I used to be that guy too. I'd just be like, what do I do? And I'd go talk to somebody or just ask them a question just so I could feel validated in the moment and be like, yeah, I talked to that big guy who's getting things done. And like, I asked him a question, but then I wouldn't implement shit.
Yeah.
That was what Jeff Fieldstead calls, I was an asshole. And I was like, yeah, he said that on a podcast. And I was like, that used to be me. Like hit my, like that. I was that guy. Yeah. That's a good point, dude.
I know a lot of those people.
Yeah. It, nothing against them, right? That's
just where they're at in their journey. I was that way at one point.
Yeah.
You were that way. It's kind of part of the process. Some people don't go through as much of it. Some people go through a lot of it, never get past it. Mm-hmm. But it's kind of part of the process.
It is. And like, even in some areas of my life, like I was taking action, but then other areas I wasn't. So like the main big thing for me was like in the sales world, I was all about action and implementation, whatever could make me better. But then my physical health, I wasn't. Just a couple of years ago, like I was overweight. I was getting sick every fall. Remember I'd miss like 2-3 weeks.
Yep.
And it was during COVID too. So I guess whatever, but getting the flu, like getting out of commission for like 2 to 3 weeks. And I just thought that was normal because everybody else in the 9 to 5 community was like,
that's pretty normal in that community.
Yeah. And I never looked at my diet. I never considered like, oh, I'm unhealthy. I used to say stuff like, oh, it's just in my family that I have bad lungs and I have a lot of nasal congestion and like acid
which in a way
reflux.
It is because you'd been convinced your whole life and watched everybody around you not pay attention to the things that mattered when it came to health and wellness and taking care of themselves.
Yeah.
So it was a part of, like, it was just normal.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
To get sick every year for like long periods of time.
Yeah, and that was just normal, and it's become the normal, right? And it's become so accepted that even like really smart, successful people that have reached some level of success, like my dad or my uncles, they've been C-suite executives. They've 7 figures plus all over the place, and they're like wondering why my uncle is a celiac and my dad is starting to become a celiac. Like,
what's celiac?
It means you're like complete and utter like gluten intolerance, which if you dive into the study, like everybody has an allergy to like gluten and GMOs and all the shit that we eat, right?
Right.
and you're well versed in that as well. But like, and my sister and my dad and my uncles, all my siblings, they're like, oh, it's genetic, you know, and people think that like infertility is like genetic now, and there's maybe certain things that are genetic, but I think you're maybe more susceptible genetically to like an allergic reaction, maybe more than most, but you're not really infertile. You just eat shit and your body's reacting to that shit. That might be the genetic, but.
And I don't think any of it is genetic. Like maybe your genes respond to the garbage that you're eating differently than than mine do, but it's still, you tie it back to the garbage that you're eating and you're drinking. Exactly. That's causing it all. Exactly.
That's what I think too. I'm like, the genetic thing is a cop out. It's just a way to blame it. It's like, oh, it's kind of like how I'm not religious anymore. I don't like organized religion as much as, you know, we've had deep conversations about this, but like people blame like, oh, it's just God's will, or it's like, oh, the devil made me do it. It's a scapegoat. Mm-hmm. And so, oh, genetics. And I was living that scapegoat, dude, for years. I'm like, I just have really bad lungs. Like every time I would exert myself, like I played lacrosse in high school. It's a ton of running. I would throw up every halftime and then just get back in the game and be fine. Huh. But like I had so much like nasal congestion, phlegm, and then acid reflux or whatever. And then as soon as I got on the carnivore diet, like it'll be a year in November. And I'm at the point now where like I can go eat carbs probably whenever I want it. It's only consumes about 10, maybe 15% of my diet, if that. And then I'm back to a ribeye steak, you know, or whatever. But all of that went away. The shitty lungs that I thought were all genetics, gone. The moment a couple months into carnivore. Yeah. Crazy stuff. So my point is I was just kind of living those scapegoats and never really coming to grips with implementation in all areas of your life, because people will implement something like I did professionally, you know, with the military and other things. I implemented that, but as soon as I took the uniform off, I didn't implement that anymore. It was weird. So
didn't have the proximity to everybody else doing it anymore.
Exactly.
That's why it's so important to be a part of a team and a community. Yeah. Whether it's mentorship or the company that you work for that's operating at a high level. So you have something to plug back into, and there's personal development talk, and there's resources for you to be able to take advantage of to continue to level up. Yeah. Because otherwise, you know, we go back to doing things the least resistance, the comfortable way.
Yeah. We're such fucking animals in that regard. Just the path of least resistance. You know, the path less traveled is very unappealing to like the lazy mind. Mm-hmm. But
that's why it's so easy to be successful.
Yeah,
because everybody else is following the path of least resistance, and as long as you just go the opposite way of everybody else, you got your own version of it, and everybody does. But that's the easiest way to think about it. When everybody else is going this way, all you have to do is go the other way.
I love it. Yeah, but your company, dude, let's talk about that a little bit, give more context for people. But I met Jefferson almost 3 years ago, actually, like this September. Yeah, 3 years. Mm-hmm. And I just, about 4 or 5 months ago, I left your company, JKR Windows, to work with Mal because our podcasting thing was booming. And we've had some ups and downs just in a short amount of time. It's beautiful. It's just like everything that business ownership is. It
is, man. Yeah. It's exciting.
But I started with you. I met Jared on Zoom. I came in. I remember I was wearing a Hawaiian shirt, talking about smooth jazz and dumb shit when you introed me. And I met Jefferson there and joined the sales team there. But your company, I wrote down some notes, but just so I could remember them, I just wrote them on some scrap paper. But your company was the first company that allowed me to be Blake. You didn't want me to be a certain way. Maybe at times, you know, we had to be certain things. Like there's certain ethos and there's certain SOPs that need to be held if you're going to be a team in the first place. Right. You know, your commitment to excellence, dependability, consistency, right? Like those core values that you have in your company, like I still remember those. Right. The team expectations, everything, the code of conduct, like those are all non-negotiable. But in that realm, you're the first company that's ever the first owner, leader that I've had that let me be myself. That didn't say, hey, Blake, this isn't the military anymore. Shut the fuck up. Huh. I hate that shit. I bet that's all I have to go off of, you know? Yeah. You know, Johnny over here, he talks about his time with the other competitor company all the fucking time. Like, how come I can't talk about my experience? You know, how come I can't share wisdom? But anyway, it's such a rare thing. And there's really something special with your sales group down here that you've cultivated with Jared Everett. That dude's a fucking tactician. Andreas, Joel, you, like just everybody, the whole 9 yards, Brooks, your whole team. So this is kind of like a little JKR Windows shout out because I worked there for 2.5 years, but I got to thank you. Like I was thinking about this morning and I start tearing up because I've never had like a mentor in the civilian world, right? In my lifestyle, you were the first one. And it changed my life, just the trajectory there. Someone allowing me to just be myself and, you know, take actionable steps towards whatever you were teaching. It just was beautiful.
That's awesome, man.
So I thank you for that.
We had a great time those couple of years you were there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We're still gonna. I think we can help you out with some content too, you know, just whatever, just even if it's just this, you just getting on our podcast, you know? Yeah. So we're going to have a killer time. But yeah, so how did you start JKR Windows real quick? You had to like kind of change yourself and you went cold turkey with the alcohol. And then from that point on, how long did it take you to start your own company?
So I started the company 2 months after I got sober. And it was kind of this sequence of, I had the incident at the concert, headbutted the guy, low point in my life, in my marriage, and my relationship. 2 months later, I joined a mentor group. 2 months after that, I got sober. 2 months after that is when I started my business. And I was working for another window company and I had some great mentors there, learned a lot. It was my first real like full-time introduction to sales. I dabbled a little bit in the past doing Vitamix and doing Primerica, selling financial services.
Oh, Either one of those. Did you try it with Jeff Fieldstead?
No, I actually he had some influence over me because I was seeing him have success, but I joined another team and it was a mediocre team. You know, there wasn't a whole lot going on. If I would have joined Jeff's team, there would have been a whole lot more energy. I'm sure I would have been more successful, but I petered out really quick doing that. Yeah. But when I started doing windows, I was seeing these guys have success, and this window that we go in and show customers was incredible. Like first time I saw it, I've been building houses my whole life and I'd never seen anything like that before.
Yeah, they're amazing.
So it was something that for me to be able to do sales, the Vitamix, I love the Vitamix, used it personally. It was easy for me to sell because I believed in it and I could use that thing and I could show people how to use it and I could show enthusiasm. Financial services, not so much. I was just a punk ass kid, didn't understand it.
You're like, what's interest?
And I just didn't understand the finance game.
Yeah.
But when I got into Windows, I had been around construction and I knew that the differences in the quality, and I started seeing firsthand that I got fired up about it. First couple of appointments I went on, seeing people's eyes light up when you show them all these features, like I never knew anything like this existed.
Yeah.
So I knew I had found a niche, but I just didn't have a long-term opportunity with that other company. And, long story short, I was supposed to be a partner. I had kind of a chip on my shoulder. I went and opened another office for them in northern Utah. They're based out of Phoenix. And it was just kind of a bad experience. And they weren't really progressing and evolving and open to ideas.
Because you had joined that mentor group. Were you still in that mentor group?
And I was in that mentor group the last 2 months that I worked for that company. And I turned up the activity. Like I was breaking records in the company. I was having my best personal months ever. And I was getting on these group calls and talking about the stuff I was doing and the activity and the goals and challenging people. Yeah. And it was uncomfortable because nobody wanted anything to do with it.
Yeah, because
it was like a turnoff to them.
Yeah, because your mentor group was probably thinking bigger than your management, thinking bigger than your teammates. And so you were raised up to that level. And then it just felt like they were kind of stagnant, right? That's what I'm gathering.
It kind of was, yeah. And I hadn't put a whole lot of thought into starting my own business. But on those last couple of calls, when I started getting that pressure back from the team, like slow down, buddy.
Yeah.
Like
stop being you.
Stop freaking showing off.
God damn it, dude. I hate that.
So that was, they didn't say that, but that was the feeling I was getting. So that was when the spark hit. One day I remember right exactly where I was. I was over walking through the neighborhood in Bloomington Hills. And I was like, you know what? I think I might be ready to start my own business.
Damn. That's so cool.
And then when I got sober, I went through this detox, 4 or 5 days. I was sick as shit. I didn't know what it was at the time, but I just thought I had the flu.
Yeah.
But it was the 5 days, 5 days after I quit drinking.
Yeah, you were purging.
So I was in rough shape, and laying there in bed was when I finally made the decision. It's like, I'm going to go file the paperwork. I'm ready.
Fuck. That's awesome. Did you just do it all in one day, or was it a step a day? You're just like, I'm going to focus all my energy on getting this task done.
I mean, I didn't know I probably could have done it right then. Just started selling under my own name.
Yeah.
But I wanted to have some things in place. I went and filed for my business license. Got some rudimentary business cards made up.
Sure.
And then as soon as the business license hit, I was ready to go.
Nice.
And then I got my first deal October 6th of 2018. April 6th of 2018. And then in May, I was full-time in March. April, I did $200,000 personally.
Nice.
And then I was off to the races.
So 200,000 in revenue. How much of that did you pocket as being the owner, your first couple deals? Was it
I wasn't really taking home a whole lot.
Right.
In the beginning, I was nervous. I didn't know how it was going to work. Fuck, I got to order windows. And
what are the percentage? What's my margins?
I didn't know what my margins were. And I didn't know what my margins were for 2 years.
This is exactly where I wanted this conversation to go. Because those of you who know Jefferson, if you haven't, go find his stuff. We'll plug all your shit here. So you can go find all his content. But you're do first, think about it later. You're a ready, shoot, aim kind of guy.
Ready, fire, aim.
Ready, fire, aim. Yeah, that's the term. That's what you are. It's admirable. I think sometimes it could be a weakness at times, but in the entrepreneur world, it's not.
It's benefited me.
You
got to be able to make quick decisions.
Yeah. So in 5 years, less than 5 years, right? Because it's been about 6 years till now, right? 5-6 years from the time you went sober till now. But I mean, from the time you were a professional couch surfer to the time where you hit 7 figures, what was that time frame?
So I was the guy on the couch in 2009.
Okay, so you kind of got away from that.
So I had started to progress a little bit. That's when I say there was no one moment. It was I needed to make baby steps. First, I had to get out of my hometown. I went to go to Motorcycle Mechanics Institute in Phoenix, went and lived with my aunt and uncle.
That's right. I forgot about that.
There was these baby steps that I took to start working towards being responsible and doing something productive with my life.
Yeah.
So
that was 2009. Baby steps. You got to a point where you were a functioning salesman, you could stack some cash.
That was 2015.
Yeah.
So over that period, I was living with aunts and uncles, and I was, doing odds and ends jobs, being a mechanic, doing carpentry, pressure washing. And I was just slowly making some progress, starting to be responsible and showing up on time and doing what I said I was going to do and keeping promises to myself. And this was a long period of time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then 2015 is when I started doing sales full time. Was terrible at it and didn't end up starting my business until 2018. But now I knew that I could do sales. I wasn't the best, but I knew that I could outwork everybody. In those last couple of months for that other company, I set a couple of personal records and company records just from working more.
Yeah.
I wasn't any better. I was just working more.
Yeah. You were just paying the universe, and it paid you back. That's so awesome, dude. Because the reason I want to talk about these, and you brought up baby steps, because that's exactly what I've been thinking about in a lot of terms. So when people are starting a process of content creation, right? Like an individual, they want to start a podcast, or an individual like you, they want to turn their whole life around. It's like these incremental wins. And podcasting, as you know, you've seen all the equipment that we have here and the equipment that you have at your studio, and all the knowledge that like a cameraman like Mitch has, right? All of that, like you don't just learn that overnight. You don't watch one YouTube video and know how to podcast. It takes so much time, yeah. And so that baby step is it's a great analogy to tie into content creation. It's how you progress in life. It's how you get good at anything. And so, when you started your company and you had everything in place and all those baby steps prior, you started the company. How long did it take you to break 7 figures as a company?
So we broke 7 figures in the first 8 months.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So I did from April through the end of the year, we did 1.2 million. The next year we did 2.2 million. And we were not organized. We were in spreadsheets and we missed a lot of payrolls. The one thing that we weren't disorganized in was our window ordering and our customer service.
So delivering of the product,
we wanted to be the best. Like right from day one, I made a commitment, wanted to be the best.
And it still is.
And we're still getting better. Like 5 years later, we're still figuring out ways to communicate better and offer better service and be quicker. And yeah, we don't ever want to stop that. We want to be the best in the nation, like hands down, synonymous with replacement windows, but the best in the industry when it comes to customer experience.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I sold that for 2.5 years. Totally.
It makes it a little bit easier to sell it when you have that kind of commitment.
Yeah.
And there was some missing aspects of that with the previous company that I had, which they're great guys and they wanted to take care of people, but they had a lot of distractions. It felt more like it was about the money for them. And of course I needed to make some money, but I wanted something that I could believe in and that other people could believe in. And we had to make some big commitments to be able to have that type of environment that's with every bit of transparency possible.
Yeah.
This is what we offer. You can be proud of it. And, there was just like these basics, these foundational things that I'd learned from the other company. Here's the things I want to do better. And then for 2 years, we really didn't change much. Like we just went hard.
Yeah.
And just did those things as much as possible.
That's too, I think a lot of businesses, they start backwards. Like you just went hard and you knew you wanted to implement all those things that would make your service the best. So you delivered the best service, the best experience for that client, that customer you could. But a lot of people, they'll use that as a hesitation. Right. And this is why you're the ready, fire, aim guy.
And you know what?
You just got it done.
I had a mentor tell me one time about being a perfectionist. It can be debilitating. And that's what keeps a lot of people from starting businesses, from making decisions on things because they want it to be perfect before they ever make the decision.
Exactly.
And I'm guilty of that in certain ways too. But when it came to business, I needed to get started and I would figure it out as I went. And some of the things that I think I'm good at is less of the perfectionism early in the process and more patience and just being okay with working out the perfectionism later on in the process.
Yeah, you refine it as you go, right? And that's exactly what starting a podcast is, or starting a YouTube channel, or starting any type of content on social media, because everybody gets hung up on that perfectionism because it's their image, right? It's kind of scary if you're not, used to getting in front of.
You think somebody could do a podcast with just a cell phone?
Yeah, absolutely. Cell phone and I
think so too.
You could buy like a $20 mic on lapel and a cell phone, and maybe just rest it up against some books.
Dude, if you go back and look at all of my original videos that I started doing on Facebook,
you did them with your cell phone.
I didn't have a mic.
Yeah, you just talked to the cell phone.
I just talked to the cell phone.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely.
Even back then in 2018, the content was pretty good. The audio was pretty good.
Yeah.
Good enough.
Yeah, good enough is the key. Good enough. Now, that's with content creation. Obviously, like with window installation, it's a little different because good enough is not always.
Yeah. There's certain things where we didn't make exceptions. I went out and recruited the best installers in the state of Utah and convinced them that I was going to be the next biggest replacement window company in Utah.
Yeah.
And then I backed it up. I went out, the very first guy that I recruited, I already had 10 jobs ready to measure.
That's
and he's amazing. Like, wait, you have 10 jobs ready to measure right now?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I'm just looking for the best people in Utah.
Is
that you? Because if it's not, I'll go find them.
I got 10 piles of cash for you. Yeah, that's a little bit more motivating to somebody when you've already performed or you can back it up on the spot like that. Mm-hmm. That's amazing. And that's we're kind of in that same boat now. And I want to tie this in too, because Blueform Media, we started with Jefferson Rogers, right? Like you've been extremely influential, dude, in our lives, but not just in ours. Like so many people in the St. George area, all of my friends that started with JKR Windows. Like look at Drake right now, who's one of your top directors. Look at Jared Everett. Look at Andreas. Look at Joel.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody that's in your company now and people that have left the company as well and pursued other things, like they're better off because of Jefferson Rogers. And so I get to put my name on that list. And I'm like, I probably crossed out the top guy, put my name above it just so I could be the top guy on the list. Like it's a point of pride for me. But dude, like the opportunity that you provide with your company for growth, take away the windows, take away the money, just the opportunity to grow. Like, even if you just fucking suck at sales, just go grow with JKR Windows for like 6 months. Go bang your head against the wall. If you broke, you're broke, but you won't be. That's the thing. But you will grow. You'll be better off having just worked with JKR Windows for a couple weeks even. It's amazing. So I have to tip my hat to you. I'm not wearing a hat today, but I'll tip it. I got the JKR hat in the background over here. Do you see that?
I see that. Yeah. Representing. Thanks, bro. Yeah, I appreciate that.
I don't know how good it's going to come in on the background.
I think that's, along with having a company and systems and processes and fulfillment that we can be proud of. One of the things that fires me up about business that I was able to find inside of a door knocking company was, I wasn't all that excited about door knocking.
Yeah.
It was freaking hard for me, dude.
Yeah.
I'd never done it. I was a pothead. Like I'd never even hardly talked to people. And then all of a sudden I got to go knock doors.
And you probably resisted it at certain times in your life when somebody's like, hey, you want to come sell for me this summer, dude?
It had to be the right place, the right time, the right product for me to even consider it because it was so far out of my comfort zone. Mm-hmm. But then what I started to find as I was seeing these guys making money, I knew I didn't want to stay where I was as a mechanic and work my freaking life away. But what I started to find was when I started training people that I could make an impact.
Yeah.
And I wasn't very good at it in the beginning, but this was something that I started getting these little glimmers of hope. Like, man, this is what fires me up.
Yeah.
Like helping build people's success stories and being a part of their story. And now, 6 years later, I've been doing Windows now for 8 years, but 6 years, close to 6 years with JKR Windows. And there's just a great, crazy list of success stories.
I remember you told me you wanted to make 100 millionaires.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've already got a couple of them checked off the list.
Couple of them, yeah. That's awesome, dude. And it'll start cascading soon.
But then that ripple effect.
Yeah.
So not only was I able to help them change their trajectory of their life and their belief in themselves about the level of income that they can get to, but now the people that they're affecting.
Yep.
And the belief that they're injecting in people because of what they learned from our short time together.
It's amazing.
Even like the very first guy that I recruited, I met him at the All-Side Center. He just happened to be there with his dad. He was a guy that I went to high school with. He was 30 days out of rehab from being hooked on heroin for 10 effing years. And we hung out every day. It's like lived together basically for 3 or 4 months. At the perfect time of his life where he needed to make some change. He needed a positive influence in his life. He needed some accountability. And he's been sober ever since. And he had been in and out of rehab, I don't know how many crazy amount of times.
Yeah.
But that's one of the things that I'm the most proud of because I love that kid. And he's, we grew up together. And I hated seeing him go through all those challenges with some hard freaking drugs. And he's still, every time I see him, He's got a big smile on his face, and he just loves the story that we created together, and just so grateful for that time that we spent together. Even though it didn't last long term, I was pretty tough on him.
Yeah.
But I've got so many of those stories now, dude.
Yeah, and I mean, I didn't do 10 years of heroin, but I can relate to that guy. That's how I see you. That's every time I see you, dude, I got a big shit-eating grin on my face. I'm like, that's Jefferson Rogers, bro. Like, it makes me get teary-eyed because I'm like, you and I, we've butted heads before, you know, and you called me out on my bullshit, and it was exactly what the doctor ordered at the time, you know, and I've had to pull back the reins on you a little bit, and the whole team does that to each other, and we've just gotten better and better at it. Right.
Absolutely.
And then, just the opportunity that you gave everybody around you to grow like that. And that doesn't work unless you, the leader, are fucking solid in probably 50% of all those criteria. You have to be unmovable. Right. I always tell you the Viking analogy, right? Like we're on a Viking ship, we're rowing to war, and like, you know, Jared's over there banging the drum to the beat, and we're all rowing. We're like, oh, and we like look forward at the bow of that fucking ship, and there's Jefferson Rogers looking into the storm. Okay, and like we have our faults, we make mistakes. You know, no one's perfect, but like that's what I'm commissioning. I think I told you this. I'm going to commission a painting of that and put us all in there.
I'm just getting goosebumps as you're telling that story.
Yeah,
dude.
Man, it's what it is. And so to give you guys some context about how Blue Form started too. Shout out to Mallory. It's kind of rubbed off. Mal and I, we had enough courage to take a plunge during COVID and buy a house in St. George. And we moved down here. And I remember finding your sales position on Indeed.com. And I talked to Jared, and I was like, I need a job. I couldn't find shit down here. No, nobody was hiring. And then to find a company that was like going strong and laughing into the storm. Like that's the Viking analogy. The storm was COVID. The storm was the recession. The storm is now with inflation or whatever. Uh-huh. And you're just laughing at it. And it didn't change anything. So I got into the company, and the thing that got me was, I'm like, okay, I could do this. I'm like, the pay is nice. But I was like, what's the turnaround time on me getting paid from a deal? And Jared was like 2 weeks. And I came from the mortgage industry. If you close a deal, it takes like a month to get paid, maybe more if there's complications. And so I was like 2 weeks. I'm like, you're not bullshitting me. And Jared was like, nope, 2 weeks. And I'm like, oh my God, dude.
Yeah. Like what if this happens? Yeah. Then how long does it take?
Exactly. I was like, okay, what about this? What about that? And he's like 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks. That's what it is. And so that was very appealing to me because I'm, you know, you hear the horror stories about solar guys. Mm-hmm. You know, I sold
and even pest control. Like there's back ends in solar and pest and roofing. There's all kinds of
all sorts of mess
stuff that's held over your head so you can get it. And we've got some of that stuff to incentivize with the par that we built in, which is above and beyond bonuses. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I never even knew that was a thing. When I started hearing that, I was like, man, we are so well positioned.
Like you started out going the hard way. The easy way is for the company to hold all that cash as long as possible. So the CPA or the CFO and the boss, like they feel good. Like they can fund their lifestyle, you know. And
well, luckily I didn't have any of those people influencing me early on.
Yeah, there's kind of a plus to that.
I was creating things, and that was where you were so helpful early on because you were very vocal about the way that I showed up for you and the way that the business was structured. And that was some of the things that we butted heads on that you helped me, you know, make some course adjustments because I wanted to build it in the favor of the salespeople and for the benefit of everybody. So when you came in, we've got this environment, this culture, this energy around this company that there's nothing being held over your head.
Yeah, it was about us.
And it was about the salespeople, dude, like the most important people in this organization.
We felt like rock stars, dude. Your sales guys are still fucking rock stars. They're the shit because you make it about them. But then guess what? Your operations team, they probably feel the same way. They're like, we're the shit. And we get stuff done.
We have such a good team, dude.
Yeah, it's a great culture you've made. And a lot of people have added to your culture. But it takes a leader looking into that storm to make that happen. And we did butt heads early on, though. I remember you sat us down. We had a problem with retention, and some people were taking advantage of the loose nature, because it was like, hey, just knock your doors and work this many hours a day and knock this many, like that kind of thing. And I remember me and McKay Erickson pumping the brakes when you were like, here's our new employee agreement. And we were like, hey, well, we're not W-2s. Like, we're 1099s. Like, we get to pick when we work. But like, we agreed with you. We're like, we need to tighten things up. And you were like coming down, because that's a natural leadership response, is to like grab more control.
Right.
Things aren't going how I'd like them to be. And it was like a knee-jerk reaction. We're going to grab more control. And I remember that was like the first time we like kind of butted heads, and you wanted us to sign. And I was like, I'm not signing this. And then McKay was like, I'm not signing this. And then like we just talked about it. And I remember you just being like you were clenching your fist,
trying to
dude.
keep my cool.
But you as a leader, this is why I fucking love the Jefferson Rogers saga, the story. Because I've seen you grow in a short amount of time. I've known you 3 years, and I've seen you progress more than I've ever seen any boss progress in my life. Even leaders in the military, I've seen you progress, become more skilled, more eloquent with your speaking. I can't even say eloquent. I said eloquent. More eloquent with your speech, just more polished as a leader, as a human being. And like, it's probably like fucking way hard for you, for any business owner, to like step back and let other people quarterback when you get to that point, right? It's like, that's got to be rough. And so I've always like tipped my hat to that dude. Like, I've never seen anybody progress like that.
Well, I appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
And I think one of my superpowers that as you observe people, you start to notice things that you're good at that just seem normal, that other people aren't freaking good at.
Yeah.
And every time that we had one of those moments and you didn't respond well, there was something that I did that created that. And I left every single one of our interactions like, how could I have done that better? Blake is so important to me. His opinions, his buy-in, his creative input, and I just F that whole thing up. So how would I do it better next time to make sure that he's bought in and he's contributing and that he's present and that he feels like his walls can come down and we can just have a conversation.
Dude, you just took the words out of my mouth. It was involuntary. My whole life, I have had people try to control me. Like my parents, they were hovering over me, making sure I was a good little Mormon boy. I could never own anything. I had no ownership. So as soon as I was of age and turned 18, I joined the Marines, because it was something that I could just fucking own and no one could tell me otherwise. And I had to fight people to just do what I thought was right. I had so much supervision in my life that it was detrimental. It was I didn't know who I was. And so that's how it was my whole adult life as well, trying to just defend. I was always on the defensive, and I didn't know I was capable of becoming humble, or I thought I always just butted heads with people. Because I'd have a boss who would put my walls up, and then I was too stubborn to see otherwise.
Right. And
they were too stubborn to see otherwise, so we just parted ways, or I got let go, or I quit. But it started with you too. We had the interaction. You're like, I didn't handle that well. But then you would come and apologize to me and make me feel valuable. And then my walls were I was like, oh yeah, I don't need these walls. I'm kicking that shit down. And then I could be like, hey, you know what? I fucked up too. And then, me, you, and Jared are crying and hugging in a boardroom up in Draper, because we'd hashed out our problems, and I felt needed. I felt valuable, even though I was dropping the ball in certain ways, right? And it was just such a beautiful thing, dude. And that starts with a leader every time. And so we've never talked about this aspect of that either.
Oh,
it's really cool to think about, because
I do a lot of reflection about all these important relationships in my life and the interactions that I have and the ways that I've effed things up in the past.
Have you done that in your marriage too?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that Mal and I have had some extreme growth just starting a business together. And since I've left your company and we've been working, it's there's no other options. The only way is through. And so the acceleration of like progress in our relationship has like tenfold.
I love seeing that, guys.
Yeah,
you guys are so incredible.
Thanks, dude.
There's such a huge opportunity here. And I remember the last conversation we had before you left, and you were still him-hawing a little bit.
Yeah,
you were trying to keep the door open.
Yeah, I was like, maybe I can, but well, because you built such a damn good fucking culture. I was like, and even Mal knows. She's like, this is going to affect Blake because she knows I operate in teams and I need like groups of dudes. It's just shifted now. It's all of our podcasting clients and their networks. And you, like, I'm still plugged into the JKR
Which are
boys.
incredible people.
Yeah.
And it's all about how you look at it. Because if you were just wallowing and not having a team to plug into, and getting too focused on that, you'd be missing tons of opportunities with,
You're right.
with Jeff and Brandon and, Derek. You guys work with so many amazing people that That's you true. Have this cool community to be a part of.
It's cool, man. And I really appreciate you establishing a good culture that would allow my traumatic responses, my walls, my defenses to go down. Like I've never had anybody be a good friend and a good leader in a job, like a normal job.
It's a tough thing to do.
It is
because there's supposed to be in corporate America, there's supposed to be this divide between friendship.
Yeah, it's the lords and ladies and the peasants. Right? It's like, and that's why everybody's like in the corporate world, I have an open door policy. But then when you really need something, they're like, get the fuck out of here, But,
it's challenging. Still challenging.
It is, man.
I love the family environment that we have and the relationships that I have with all my people. But then, I'm also still the leader and I got to have difficult conversations and I got to give people criticism. I got to call them out on shit.
Yeah, you have to keep enough of a barrier where you're not a homie. Oh, shit. I just burned the shit out of my leg. Yeah. I mean, I'm fine. Yeah. It's a pretty small target down there. So but yeah, you have to have a buffer though, where you're like the leader. And so like you can be friends and like have relationships and buddy with people, but like there still is a level of leadership that is a barrier. So you're not like complete and utter homies with somebody. When you have a leadership billet. And the first time I ever experienced that was I got promoted to corporal in the Marine Corps. And so all my Lance corporals, the rank I was previously, like all my buddies, like we were still friends, but when it came time to work, like I had to be a little bit of an asshole. Yeah. And I did it in true Marine Corps fashion, I did it very, very shittily. And you do it very angry and like yelling and, whatever the Marine Corps tells you, but
that doesn't translate well into sales.
Not to sales. No, when there's a mental aspect, this is why I love sales. There's a mental aspect because like on the mechanic floor, right? Or in an infantry squad, you just shut the fuck up and do it. Uh-huh. You don't have to think much. I mean, you have to think tactically or you have to think mechanically, like how am I going to fix this? Or, you have to be aware of what you're doing so you don't drop a whole vehicle on your head when it's in the bay, right? Uh-huh. Same thing. But you don't have to be cognizant of your emotions, your state of mind, and your mental game. Because like I've worked harder physically, and I'm sure you have, but doing sales for 10, 12 hours a day is more draining than physical labor, in my opinion. Because you have to be so cognizant of yourself, of your state of your thoughts. Uh-huh. It's exhausting.
Yeah, your attitude, your mentality, how you show up for people, your facial expressions.
Yeah.
Like you got to have all that in check if you want to be good at sales.
Yeah, I remember.
But as a mechanic, as a carpenter, I could smoke weed all day long, dude.
Yeah.
Nobody ever needed to talk to me. Yeah. I didn't need to talk to anybody else either.
Yeah, exactly.
I knew how to do my stuff and I knew how to do it well, even when I was high. And you can't do that in sales.
Yeah, and that's the real craft of sales. Like just like a framer, it's swinging the hammer, building the wall. The mechanic is the craft is knowing what's wrong and fixing it. The craft in sales is not really selling a product. It's the craft is actually your like stewardship over your own brain, your own mind. That's the craft. If you can do that, you can sell anything. Because then it's just follow the steps, follow the script, right? How many times did you tell me that? Follow the script. But the craft is waking up correctly, choosing positivity over negativity, and polishing, your mind. That's the craft of sales. Like, just like a mechanic is knowing what part, like, he doesn't need to worry about his mental state. You just got, this part goes here. Same thing with any blue collar. It's fascinating. But so you're probably wondering, if you're listening, thank you for being with us this long, how does this equate to content creation? So I want to open up some questions in that regard for you, Jefferson. But in your road to personal development and creating a company, and polishing yourself, really, how has content creation affected that?
When I joined that mentor program back in 2017, one of the daily challenges was to get out of obscurity. And, when you put that into relating it to business, if you got a restaurant, if you've got a home services company, if you've trying to sell a product, but nobody knows about it, that's one of the reasons why so many companies fail, is because they don't realize there's these extra steps in business where you're going to go out of business if you can't sell your product fast enough for a price high enough for you to be able to pay yourself and to be able to continue. So one of the ways that you can do that, and especially in today's world where there's like free advertisement with most of these platforms, you can do paid ads, but there's a bunch of organic stuff that you can do.
Yeah. I think like social media has become the new yellow pages. Like, remember the yellow pages, you're like, I need a handyman. And you go look in the yellow pages.
Yeah.
And you find it, and you could put an ad in the newspaper because that's where people's attention is. But today everyone's attention is on their phone. It's on social media. It's on something like that. Mm-hmm. So it's like, it's just free stuff. It's the new yellow pages, but it's free. And, like you said, obscurity. You could be the best at whatever you're doing, but if nobody knows about it, are you really the best?
So if the way that I relate it, early on when I got started on doing my personal brand, it was this challenge. And I love a challenge. So I started telling my story, and I started just doing selfie videos, talking about door knocking and the success that I was having and the progress that I was making, the books that I was reading. That was the early stages. Then for me, our customers are reached through either paid ads or we go and knock on their door. So I wasn't as concerned about putting social media together and my own personal brand for customers. But the big goals that I did have was growing my business. Mm-hmm. And to be able to grow a business, you got to have something for people to look at and to have some credibility.
Yeah. And you got to have more people join you, to work with you, right?
That was the focus, was how do I create content that if people are looking into JKR Windows, if they're vetting me out personally, that there's an unlimited amount of resources for them to go and look at.
Yeah.
Pictures, articles, videos, so every social media platform you can think of, you can look up JKR Windows and Jefferson Rogers, and in a relatively short period of time, get a feel for what it's going to be like to work with me and to work with our company.
Exactly, dude. And that's a lesson for every business. If you're not aware of these things, unfortunately, you're behind the times. If you're not implementing these things, you're still behind the times. If you know that, hey, I need to do this, but you're not, you're behind. That's just the reality of it. It's never too late, though.
No.
Right?
And listen, it doesn't have to be perfect. Mm-hmm. I went through a couple of years of knowing that I needed to do it, but wasn't quite sure what the content needed to look like. And if you look all the way back to 2018 until, maybe even the beginning of this year, 4 years straight, I was putting together content that really didn't have much of a purpose.
Right.
There was no direction. There wasn't a ton of intention. And over time, I figured out that this needed to be my goal. And now if you go back for the past 9 months,
we've been seeing
solely focused on JKR Windows, our culture, our environment. It's highlighting our reps and showcasing what it's like to work with me and to work for JKR Windows.
And that's kind of like an internal podcast that you've created, right? What's that called again?
Just Real Quick.
Just Real Quick. That's right. Because that's your line. Like, that's how we encourage people on the doors. Like, hey, just real quick. Like, if someone shut the door, hey, just real quick, I'm here doing this, blah, blah, blah. And so it's like such a internal, and a lot of door knockers use that, but like, you've kind of owned it now. It's brilliant. And so
I'm going to trademark that.
Yeah, you should. You should trademark that.